Well, Mark, we're in the glorious sunshine. It's perfectly timed for the end of training. You've trained in the wet today, and I guess glad to be back in training and got the players around.
Yeah, it is glad to be back. I think all football people will tell you that when the season finishes, and although you only have a couple of weeks, really, after a couple of weeks you're getting bored indoors and you want to get back to the work again. So it's always nice to get back in the swing of things. So yeah, we had it rain this morning, but the weather's gorgeous as you'd expect. The training ground is coming on now. Significant improvement in the training ground, and I'm told that hopefully it might be another few weeks before we were actually in the main building. So it's all looks like in that respect we're progressing.
And it's been a shorter break than usual for the players. For you, was there any break whatsoever? Or I guess you've been probably plugging away over the summer, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. You might take. I'm trying to think. Do you get the odd day? Not really, because as I said at the back end of last season, we lost, was it 10, 12 players going out of my squad. So there's a lot of work to be done then behind the scenes, looking at players, speaking to people, looking at videos, looking at games, whatever, and getting lists of players and players that you think can come in and make a difference for you, and then trying to make contact with them, and if you can, and see how we could go in terms of bringing them in, if there's any chance of doing that. So there's loads of things that be going on behind the snes, and yeah, I've not actually been in the training ground over the last 2 or 3 weeks before it, but it seems to be non-stop that trying to put things in place properly.
And though we've had those players kind of leave the club, we've got some sort of arrivals in a few different senses. Let's first talk about the players who were injured at the back end of last season. Andy Yardam and Lucas João, two real staples for the first team who we missed dearly, and looks like they're back in training now.
They are, which is a huge bonus for us. We really missed them, especially the back end of the season. They both had more or less the same injuries, recurring hamstring injuries. Lucas João was probably more documented, obviously, and we had to wait for him. And I still say now that possibly I could have rushed him maybe those last 2 or 3 games at the back end, but very mindful of the fact I wanted him to try and be 100% fit and ready to go. And if he'd had another setback, we'd have missed out. Andy Yardam the same. He's back in training now, and looking sharper with every training session. But at the same time, we're mindful of the fact that pre-season, when you look to really put him through their paces, we have got one eye on the fact of just dipping him in and dipping him out and progressing him so he doesn't have any recurrence of an injury.
Of course, we've got players who were out on loan too last season, the likes of Jordan Holsgrove, Tom Holmes, Mark McNulty and Luke Southwood as a keeper, all kind of rejoining the squad, and hopefully they've made some good impressions on you with a pretty first time you've worked with them directly. Yes,
first time we worked with them directly, and they've come back in. You can see that they're enthusiastic, they're hungry to impress, which is a good thing. The young lads, Tom Holmes and Jordan as well, you can see that they've grown, physically and matured mentally as well. So again, it's nice to see them in the group. It's difficult times, I think, because the players throughout football, really, you have this period, and it's a short period that they've got to almost hit the ground running more than other players to impress the manager, to show that they can be part of my plans and force their way into things. So that'll be an ongoing thing every day for them. But yeah, it's good to have them back in the group, and new faces are always a bonus.
Got to ask you too, the one sort of new recruit is Josh Laurent. He mentioned that he'd worked with you previously over at QPR. Someone that you clearly know well and really must be very glad to have here.
Yeah, I've kept my eye on him for a while since he was a youngster at Queen's Park Rangers, and his traits, he's a big physical lad. He covers ground well. He can play any number of positions, all adeptly well. And he's a very, very good professional. Comes in every day, does his work, does his job. I think with the way his career's gone, he's a little bit of a sponge as well, in terms of he wants to sort of soak up information and take it on board. And I'm sure he'll be a very good addition to the squad, to the team for the coming season.
Got to ask you too about Laurent and Ejaria. He's back with the club at the moment, training. He's found a bit of a home here in the last couple of years. What's the latest with his situation?
The latest with Laurent is it's a complicated situation, just in the fact of the finances of the club. We're lucky to have him at the moment here. He's come back, he's in training, and thanks to Liverpool for that, for letting him join us for training. But again, I can't give too much information other than it'll just depend on the finances of the clubs, what the club can do and whether we can take that forward. So, I'm trying to get as much information over the next week or so that we can hopefully progress that one, but it is all wrapped around what we can do in terms of our finances.